Chosen one, you must come to a clear and unshakable understanding. Not every word spoken over your life carries power. Just because something was said does not mean it was authorized. There is a difference between noise and truth, between human opinion and divine declaration. Many of the words that tried to settle into your spirit were never meant to take root. They came from places of insecurity, jealousy, fear, or misunderstanding, not from God. And anything that does not come from God cannot control where your life is headed. You may remember moments when someone spoke doubt over you, telling you that you weren't good enough, that you would fail, that you didn't have what it takes. At the time, those words may have felt heavy. They may have lingered in your thoughts longer than they should have. But here is the truth you must hold on to now. Those words had no authority. They were not signed by your Creator. They were not written into your destiny. They were simply expressions of someone else's limitations. Authority is not given to every voice. Authority belongs to God alone. And if God did not declare it, then it does not have the final say in your life. This is where your power begins, when you stop giving weight to voices that were never meant to guide you. When you stop replaying negative statements and start aligning your mind with divine truth, everything begins to shift. Chosen one, you are not called to carry every word that was thrown at you. Some words were meant to be released immediately, not stored. Holding on to unauthorized words is like allowing strangers to write chapters in a book they were never meant to touch. Your life is authored by God, not by passing opinions. And when you truly understand this, you begin to reclaim control over your inner world. There is also something deeper happening here. Those words you heard were often a reflection of the speaker, not a revelation about you. People project what they believe, what they fear, and what they have experienced. If they spoke limitation, it is because they see through a limited lens. If they spoke doubt, it is because they carry doubt within themselves. But you are not bound to their perspective. You are not confined by their understanding. God is reminding you today to separate yourself from those false narratives. You must become intentional about what you accept and what you reject. Every time a negative word tries to resurface in your mind, challenge it. Ask yourself, did this come from God? If the answer is no, then it has no authority, and it must be released. This is how you protect your destiny. Not by avoiding all voices, that is impossible, but by discerning which voices matter. God's voice brings clarity, peace, and direction. Unauthorized voices bring confusion, fear, and doubt. Learn to recognize the difference, and you will no longer be easily shaken. Chosen one, your future has never been in the hands of people. It has always been in the hands of God. No careless statement, no harsh criticism, no false accusation can override what He has planned for you. The sooner you stop giving power to powerless words, the sooner you will step fully into who you are meant to be. Stand firm in this truth. What was not spoken by God cannot shape your destiny. Let every unauthorized word fall away. Let every false label lose its grip. And move forward knowing that your life is guided by a higher authority, one that never fails, never lies, and never speaks against your purpose. Chosen one, it is time to break free from one of the most subtle yet powerful traps, the belief that who you are is determined by how others see you. For too long, people may have projected their opinions, judgments, and assumptions onto your life, and somewhere along the way, those perceptions may have started to feel real. But hear this clearly. You were never defined by their perception. You were defined by God long before anyone ever formed an opinion about you. People see through limited lenses. Their vision is shaped by their experiences, their wounds, their expectations, and their fears. When they looked at you, they did not see the full picture, they saw fragments. Some saw your struggles, but not your strength. Some saw your silence, but not your wisdom. Some saw your delay, but not your preparation. And because they could not see completely, they spoke inaccurately. But incomplete vision always produces incomplete judgment. You must understand this, chosen one. Being misunderstood does not mean you are miscreated. Just because someone failed to recognize your value does not mean it was not there. Diamonds are often overlooked when they are still buried. Gold is not admired until it has gone through refinement. In the same way, your worth has always existed, even when it was not acknowledged. There is a dangerous habit that many fall into, measuring themselves based on how they are treated or perceived by others. If people overlook them, they feel unimportant. If people criticize them, they feel inadequate. If people misunderstand them, they feel the need to constantly explain or prove themselves. But you are not called to live in reaction to human perception. You are called to stand in divine identity. God did not create you based on opinions. He created you with intention, purpose, and precision. Every part of you, your personality, your gifts, your journey, was designed with meaning. That means no human misunderstanding can cancel or alter what God has already established. You don't need validation from people who cannot fully see you. Chosen one, some of the perceptions placed on you were labels: not enough, too much, too late, too different. But labels are not truth. They are shortcuts people use when they don't take the time to understand. And you must not allow temporary labels to create permanent beliefs within you. Oh, there is also a deeper truth you must embrace. Sometimes God allows you to be misunderstood, not as punishment, but as protection and preparation. If everyone understood you too early, they might gain access to parts of your life they are not ready to handle. Misunderstanding can create distance, and sometimes that distance is necessary for your growth. It allows you to develop without pressure, to evolve without interference, and to become who you are meant to be without constantly being reshaped by others' expectations. Now is the moment to shift your focus. Instead of asking, "What do they think about me?" begin asking, "What has God said about me?" Because what God says is final. His perspective is not influenced by trends, emotions, or opinions. It is rooted in truth. Chosen one, you do not need to shrink to be accepted, nor do you need to perform to be valued. You already carry worth. You already carry purpose. And the more you align yourself with that truth, the less power external perceptions will have over you. Walk boldly in who you are, even if others don't understand it. Stand confidently in your identity, even if others misinterpret it. Because at the end of the day, you are not living to fit into their perception, you are living to fulfill your purpose. And remember this always. You were never defined by what they saw. You are defined by what God created. Chosen one, there comes a moment in every journey where the truth must rise and every false narrative must fall. You may not have seen it yet, but even now, God is working behind the scenes to silence the stories that were never accurate about you. Every lie, every misunderstanding, every distorted version of your character is being confronted by a higher authority. What people said in private, what they assumed without knowing, what they spread without truth, none of it can stand when God decides to reveal what is real. False narratives are powerful only when they go unchallenged. They grow in silence, they spread through assumption, and they gain strength when people accept them without question. You may have experienced this moments where you felt misrepresented, where others formed opinions about you without ever hearing your side. And feel frustrating, even isolating, to know that a version of you exists in people's minds that does not reflect who you truly are. But here is what you must understand. You do not have to fight every lie for it to be defeated. God is your defender, and his correction is greater than any explanation you could ever give. There are battles you are not meant to fight with words, because truth does not need constant defense, it needs time for revelation. While you remained silent, while you chose peace over argument, God was already preparing a shift. He was aligning circumstances, revealing intentions, and allowing truth to surface in ways you could not control. Chosen one, sometimes the strongest move is not to react. When you resist the urge to defend yourself against every false statement, you create space for God to step in. Human defense often leads to more conflict, more misunderstanding, and more noise. But divine intervention brings clarity, resolution, and undeniable truth. When God corrects a narrative, it is not partial, it is complete. There are people who believed things about you that were never true. They heard one side and accepted it as the whole story. They judged without understanding your journey, your intentions, or your heart. But God sees everything in full. He knows what was said, what was twisted, and what was hidden. And because he sees fully, he judges rightly. What is happening now is a quiet reversal. Conversations are shifting. Perceptions are changing. People are beginning to see inconsistencies in the false narratives they once believed. Truth has a way of surfacing, even when it has been buried for a long time. And when it rises, it does not need to shout, it simply reveals. You must also release the need to control how quickly this happens. God's timing is intentional. If the truth were revealed too early, it might not be received. If it were forced, it might be resisted. But when God brings it forward, it comes with clarity that cannot be denied. It reaches the right people, at the right time, in the right way. Chosen one, your responsibility is not to chase correction, it is to remain aligned with truth. Continue to walk with integrity. Continue to act with honesty. Continue to live in a way that reflects who you truly are. Because when your life consistently reflects truth, it becomes the strongest evidence against every lie. And here is the deeper promise. Not only will God silence false narratives, but he will also restore what they tried to damage. Your reputation, your peace, your confidence, none of it is permanently lost. What was shaken will be steadied. What was questioned will be confirmed. What was hidden will be brought into the light. Stand firm in this, chosen one. You are not defined by what was falsely said about you. You are upheld by what is eternally true. And no matter how loud the lie once seemed, it cannot outlast the voice of God. Chosen one, what felt like rejection was never meant to end you, it was meant to guide you. In the moment, rejection can feel personal. It can feel like something has been taken from you, like a door has been closed unfairly, like you were overlooked or denied something you deserved. But what you could not see at the time is that every no you faced was not a punishment, it was a form of divine protection and direction. Rejection often carries a heavy emotional weight because it touches on identity. It can make you question your worth, your abilities, and your place. You may have wondered, why wasn't I chosen? Or what did I do wrong? But these questions come from a limited perspective. They assume that every opportunity is meant for you, when in reality, not every space is aligned with your purpose. And if it is not aligned, then being denied access is not loss, it is wisdom at work. God sees what you cannot. He knows the environments, relationships, and paths that will either elevate you or diminish you. When you were rejected, you were being kept away from something that could not sustain who you are becoming. What looks like exclusion on the surface is often protection underneath. There were rooms where your value would not have been recognized, places where your growth would have been stunted, and connections that would have drained rather than developed you. Chosen one, rejection is not a statement about your worth, it is a signal about alignment. Just because something did not work out does not mean you were not good enough. It means it was not the right fit for your calling. A key that does not fit a lock is not useless, it simply belongs to a different door. In the same way, your gifts, your presence, and your purpose are designed for specific places. And when you try to force yourself into spaces that are not meant for you, rejection becomes inevitable. There is also a deeper transformation that happens through rejection. It builds resilience. It strengthens your sense of identity. It teaches you to rely less on external validation and more on internal conviction. When you are not constantly affirmed by others, you are pushed to discover who you are without their approval. And that is where true confidence is formed, not in being accepted everywhere, but in knowing you belong where you are meant to be. You must also consider this. What you were rejected from may not have been able to handle where you are going. Sometimes God withholds opportunities because they are too small for your future. If you had been accepted into certain spaces, you might have settled there. You might have limited yourself to something that was never meant to be permanent. But rejection disrupted that possibility. It forced you to keep moving, to keep searching, to keep growing. Chosen one, your journey is not defined by closed doors. It is defined by the doors that open at the right time. And when those doors open, you will understand why the others had to close. You will see that what once felt like loss was actually preparation. You will recognize that every rejection refined your direction and sharpened your focus. Now is the time to shift how you view your past. Do not carry rejection as a wound, carry it as wisdom. Do not let it weaken your confidence, let it strengthen your clarity. You were not pushed away because you lacked something. You were redirected because you are meant for something greater. Stand firmly in this truth, chosen one. Rejection was never your defeat. It was God's way of leading you toward the life that truly belongs to you. Chosen one, you must anchor yourself in this truth. No negative word has the power to cancel what God has already promised over your life. What has been spoken by God carries a weight, a permanence, and an authority that no human voice can override. People may speak against you, doubt you, or even try to discourage you, but their words do not have the final say. God's promises are not fragile, they are unshakable. There may have been moments when the negativity around you felt overwhelming. Words of doubt, criticism, or even subtle discouragement may have made you question what you once believed so strongly. You might have started wondering if the promise would really come to pass, or if what you felt was truly meant for you. But understand this, chosen one. Doubt often grows in environments filled with conflicting voices. And if you are not careful, you can begin to give equal weight to words that were never meant to stand beside God's truth. God's promises are not dependent on public opinion. They are not weakened by criticism, nor are they delayed by disbelief. What God has spoken over you is rooted in His purpose, not in people's approval. This means that even when others cannot see it, even when they question it, even when they speak against it, it remains intact. Think about it this way. A promise from God is like a seed planted deep within you. Negative words may try to cover it with doubt, fear, or confusion, but they cannot uproot it. As long as that seed remains, it will grow in its appointed time. What people say may affect how you feel, but it cannot change what God has already set in motion unless you allow those words to take root within you and replace what was planted. This is where your responsibility comes in. You must guard your mind and your spirit. You must be intentional about what you allow to stay within you. Every negative word that tries to settle must be challenged. Every doubt that tries to grow must be confronted. Not every voice deserves agreement. Just because you hear something repeatedly does not make it true. Chosen one, you have to learn how to return to the source. When confusion rises, go back to what God showed you. When doubt creeps in, remind yourself of what you felt in clarity. There was a moment when you knew without fear, without hesitation, that you were called, that you were chosen, that something greater was ahead of you. That knowing did not come from people, it came from God. And what comes from God does not disappear because others cannot understand it. There will always be voices that question what they cannot see. Some people will speak from logic, others from fear, and some from their own disappointments. But their experiences are not your destiny. Their limitations are not your boundaries. You are not required to shrink your belief to fit someone else's understanding. You must also recognize that delays do not mean denial. Sometimes when promises take time, negative voices become louder. People begin to say, if it were real, it would have happened by now. But timing is not controlled by people, it is aligned with purpose. God does not rush what He intends to build properly. What is delayed is often being prepared. Chosen one, hold firmly to this. What God has promised you is still yours. It has not been cancelled, reduced, or reassigned. No word spoken against you has the authority to undo it. The only thing that can distance you from it is losing your belief in it. So stand strong, silence the noise, return to truth, and keep moving forward with confidence, knowing that God's word over your life is greater than any word spoken against it. Chosen one, what you went through was never meant to destroy you, it was meant to reveal you. There is a crucial difference between being broken and being tested, and you must understand which one truly applies to your life. A test is designed to measure strength, to expose what is within you, and to prepare you for what lies ahead. Breaking, on the other hand, is meant to end something, and you are still here, you are still standing. That alone is proof that you were not broken, you were tested. There were moments when the pressure felt unbearable. The weight of circumstances, the silence of unanswered prayers, the sting of words spoken against you, all of it combined into something that felt overwhelming. You may have questioned your resilience. You may have wondered if you had reached your limit. But even in those moments, something within you refused to give up. That something was not slu cha a ikratkoi no yet, was the strength God placed inside you long before the test began. Tests have a purpose, even when they are uncomfortable. They stretch you beyond your current capacity. They force you to grow in ways you would not choose on your own. Without pressure, strength remains hidden. Without challenges, endurance is never developed. What you experienced was shaping you, refining you, and preparing you for a level of responsibility and purpose that requires a stronger version of you. Chosen one, think about how you respond now compared to how you would have responded before. The patience you carry, the awareness you've gained, the resilience you've built, these are not accidental. They are the results of everything you have endured. What once would have shaken you may not even move you now. That is growth. That is evidence that the test changed you, not by weakening you, but by strengthening you. There is also a deeper truth within every test. It reveals what is real. It exposes who is truly for you and who is not. It shows you where your foundations are strong and where they need reinforcement. Tests bring clarity. They strip away illusions and leave you with truth. And while that process can be uncomfortable, it is necessary. You cannot step into your purpose with confusion about who you are or what surrounds you. You must also release the idea that struggling means failing. Struggle is part of the process. It does not mean you are losing, it means you are in the middle of becoming. Even when you felt weak, even when you doubted yourself, you were still moving forward. Progress does not always look powerful. Sometimes it looks like simply not giving up. Chosen one, the enemy of your growth wanted you to believe that the test was proof of your weakness. It wanted you to feel defeated, to feel like you were not capable of handling what was in front of you. But the truth is the opposite. The very fact that you were tested at that level means you had the capacity to endure it. You were trusted with that experience because there was something in you strong enough to carry it. Now is the time to shift your perspective. Stop looking at your past challenges as moments of defeat. Begin to see them as evidence of your strength. You didn't break, you bent, you adjusted, you endured, and you rose. And rising after pressure is one of the clearest signs of true strength. Stand firmly in this truth, chosen one. You were not broken by what you faced. You were refined by it. Every challenge added to your resilience, every difficulty deepened your understanding, and every test prepared you for what is next. You are stronger now than you were before. Not because life became easier, but because you became stronger within it. Chosen one, there were moments when you stood in silence while being completely misunderstood. Moments when words were spoken about you that did not reflect your heart, your intentions, or your truth. You may have felt unseen, unheard, and even abandoned in those times. It can be deeply painful to know that people formed opinions about you without ever seeking to understand you. But here is what you must hold on to now. Even when others were not listening, God was. Nothing you experienced went unnoticed. Every conversation held behind your back, every false assumption made about you, every judgment passed without clarity, God heard it all. Not only did he hear what was said, but he also understood what was true. While people judged based on fragments, God saw the full picture. He saw your intentions when others questioned them. He saw your silence when others misinterpreted it. He saw your restraint when you chose not to defend yourself. Chosen one, your silence was not weakness, it was strength. In a world that often rewards loud reactions, choosing not to respond can feel unnatural. You may have wanted to explain yourself, to correct every misunderstanding, to defend your name. But there is a deeper kind of strength in restraint. When you trust that God sees and knows the truth, you no longer feel the need to fight every battle publicly. There is a reason why not every situation required your response. Some battles are not meant to be fought with words, they are meant to be handled by God. If you had stepped into every conflict, you might have prolonged the misunderstanding. You might have added more noise to a situation that needed clarity. But by stepping back, you allowed space for something greater to take place, divine justice. God does not forget. He does not overlook. And he does not misinterpret. What people got wrong about you did not change what God knew about you. And because he knows fully, he also responds perfectly. There may have been a delay in seeing that response, but delay does not mean absence. It means timing. Chosen one, you must also understand that being misjudged is not always a sign that something is wrong with you. Sometimes it is a sign that you are not meant to be fully understood in certain spaces. Not everyone has the capacity to see you clearly. Not everyone has the perspective to recognize your intentions. And that is not your burden to carry. When people misunderstood you, it revealed more about their perspective than it did about your identity. They interpreted your actions through their own experiences, their own assumptions, and their own limitations. But you are not responsible for how others interpret you. You are responsible for how you live. And you lived with integrity. You remained true to yourself even when it would have been easier to react. You chose patience over impulse, silence over argument, and peace over conflict. That did not go unnoticed. God saw every moment where you could have responded differently but chose not to. Now, there is a shift taking place. What was once hidden is being brought into clarity. What was once misunderstood is being revealed with truth. You may not see it all at once, but it is happening. Perceptions are changing. Understanding is growing. And even if some people never fully see you correctly, it does not matter, because the one who matters most always has. Chosen one, release the weight of needing to be understood by everyone. That is not your assignment. Your assignment is to remain aligned with truth, to live with integrity, and to trust that God is handling what you cannot control. Stand firm in this truth. When you were misjudged, you were not alone. God was listening, and now in His perfect timing He is responding. Chosen one, there is a powerful truth you must embrace. You do not have to spend your life correcting every lie that was spoken about you. There comes a time when your elevation, your growth, and your transformation will speak louder than any words ever could. Your rise will become the contradiction to every false narrative, every doubt, and every negative label that was placed upon you. There were people who underestimated you, people who formed conclusions about your future based on a limited version of your present. They saw where you were and assumed that was all you would ever be. They heard rumors and accepted them as truth. They spoke words that tried to confine you to a version of yourself that was never permanent. But what they failed to understand is that your story was still unfolding. Chosen one, growth often happens in silence. While others were speaking about you, you were evolving. While they were making assumptions, you were developing strength, gaining wisdom, and building resilience. They judged you based on a moment, but God is shaping you for a lifetime. And when that growth begins to show, it will naturally dismantle everything that was falsely believed about you. Your rise is not just about success, it is about revelation. It reveals who you truly are beyond the misunderstandings. It exposes the inaccuracy of every lie without you having to say a single word. When people see you standing in confidence, walking in purpose, and living in alignment, it creates a contrast that cannot be ignored. The narrative begins to shift, not because you argued your way into being understood, but because your life made the truth visible. There is a reason why you were not meant to defend yourself at every stage. If you had spent all your energy trying to correct people, you might have delayed your own growth. You might have become focused on proving something instead of becoming something. But God had a different plan. He allowed your progress to become your proof. Chosen one, understand this clearly. Your rise is not for revenge, it is for purpose. It is not about showing others that they were wrong. It is about stepping fully into who you were always meant to be. When your focus shifts from proving others wrong to becoming your true self, your growth becomes authentic and sustainable. There will be moments when people who once doubted you begin to notice the change. They may not always admit it, but they will see it. The same people who questioned your ability may become silent. The same voices that spoke against you may no longer have anything to say. And in some cases, the very people who misunderstood you may begin to respect you not because you demanded it, but because your life reflects something undeniable. You must also be prepared for this. Not everyone will acknowledge their mistake. Some people will quietly adjust their perception without ever apologizing. Others may hold on to their version of the story despite the evidence. But that is not your concern. Your growth is not dependent on their recognition. Your rise is valid whether they accept it or not. Chosen one, the most powerful response to falsehood is not argument, it is alignment. When your actions, your character, and your progress consistently reflect truth, lies lose their power naturally. They cannot survive in the presence of consistent evidence. Now is the time to focus forward. Do not get stuck in the past trying to revisit what was said. Do not allow old narratives to pull you back into old mindsets. You are no longer in that place. You are no longer that version of yourself. Stand firmly in this truth. Your rise will speak for you. Your life will tell the story correctly. And without force, without argument, and without explanation, every lie will be contradicted by the reality of who you have become. Chosen one, not every battle you faced was visible. Not every attack came in a form you could recognize or confront directly. There were things spoken, planned, and intended against you that never reached you, and not because they weren't real, but because you were protected. There is a level of divine covering over your life, that has been working quietly, consistently, and powerfully, even when you were completely unaware of it. You may have wondered at times why certain situations never escalated, why certain people never followed through on what they hinted at, or why certain threats seemed to disappear without explanation. What you could not see was the intervention taking place behind the scenes. God was stepping in, blocking what was not meant to touch you, redirecting what could have harmed you, and neutralizing what was formed against you. Hidden attacks often come in subtle ways. They are not always loud or obvious. Sometimes they come through conversations you were not part of, intentions that were never revealed, or plans that were made without your knowledge. If you were aware of everything that was attempted against you, it might have overwhelmed you. But protection does not require your awareness, it requires God's authority. And that authority has been active in your life all along. Chosen one, you must begin to recognize that not every victory looks like overcoming something you saw. Some victories look like problems that never appeared, doors that never opened, or connections that quietly faded away. At the time, you may have felt confusion or even disappointment. You may have wondered why something didn't work out or why someone distanced themselves. But in many cases, what felt like loss was actually protection. There were environments you were kept out of because they carried hidden dangers. There were relationships that did not progress because they were not aligned with your future. There were opportunities that seemed promising but would have led to unnecessary struggle. And without fully understanding it, you were guided away from all of it. You must also understand that protection does not mean the absence of challenges, it means the limitation of harm. You still faced difficulties, you still experienced opposition, but what could have been worse was prevented. What could have broken you was reduced. What could have delayed you significantly was shortened. God does not always remove every obstacle, but He ensures that nothing has the power to destroy your purpose. Chosen one, there is a deep level of security in knowing that you are not navigating life alone. Even when you are unaware, even when you are focused on your daily path, there is a covering over you. This should not make you passive, it should make you confident. Confident that you can move forward without fear of what you cannot see, because what you cannot see is already being handled. There is also a responsibility that comes with this awareness. When you realize how much you have been protected from, it should shift your perspective. Instead of focusing only on what went wrong, begin to appreciate what never reached you. Instead of questioning every delay, consider what you may have been saved from. Gratitude grows when you recognize unseen protection. Moving forward, you do not need to live in fear of hidden attacks. Fear gives power to the unknown, but faith places trust in protection. You are not called to be anxious about what might be happening behind your back. You are called to stay aligned, to stay grounded, and to trust that God is handling what you cannot monitor. Stand firmly in this truth, chosen one. You are covered in ways you do not always understand. Plans that were formed against you have already been dismantled. Words that were meant to harm you have already been neutralized, and paths that could have led you away from your purpose have already been redirected. You are protected not just in what you see, but in what you don't. Chosen one, this is your moment to move forward, not with hesitation, not with fear, but with unshakable confidence. You have spent enough time questioning, doubting, and second-guessing yourself. You have carried the weight of other people's words, navigated uncertainty, and endured challenges that tested your strength. But now, everything is shifting. You are being called to step into a new level of boldness, because you are not walking alone, you are backed by God. Confidence is not about having all the answers or seeing the entire path ahead. It is about trusting the one who is guiding you. When you understand that God is with you, before you, and behind you, your perspective changes. You no longer need perfect clarity to take the next step. You only need trust. Trust that where you are being led is greater than where you have been. There may still be moments where fear tries to speak. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of stepping into something unfamiliar. But you must recognize fear for what it is, a voice that attempts to keep you in the same place. Fear does not come with authority. It does not determine your outcome. It only presents possibilities that are not rooted in truth. And just like the negative words you have already overcome, fear must not be given power over your decisions. Chosen one, you have been prepared for this. Every challenge you faced, Every delay you experienced, every lesson you learned was all building toward this moment. You are not stepping forward as the same person you were before. You are stepping forward stronger, wiser, and more aware. What once intimidated you no longer holds the same power, because you have grown beyond it. You must also release the need for external validation as you move forward. Not everyone will understand your steps. Not everyone will support your direction. And that is okay. Your confidence cannot be dependent on agreement from others. It must come from alignment with God. When you know that you are being guided, you do not need constant reassurance from people who cannot see what you see. There is a difference between arrogance and divine confidence. Arrogance relies on self alone, while divine confidence is rooted in trust in God. Not being called to move forward thinking you are better than others who are being called to move forward, knowing you are supported by something greater. This kind of confidence is steady, not loud. It is grounded, not forced. It does not need to prove itself because it is already secure. Chosen one, opportunities will begin to appear that require you to step out of your comfort zone. Doors will open that you once thought were out of reach. And in those moments, you will have a choice. To step back into old patterns of doubt or to step forward in faith. This is where everything changes. Growth happens when you choose to move despite uncertainty. You are not expected to be perfect, you are expected to be willing. Willing to try, willing to trust, willing to move. Every step you take in faith strengthens your confidence. Every action you take in alignment brings you closer to the life you are meant to live. And remember this, chosen one. You are not responsible for controlling every outcome. Your responsibility is to take the step. God's responsibility is to guide the result. When you carry everything on your own, you create unnecessary pressure. But when you trust that you are backed by God, you move with a sense of peace, knowing that you are supported. Stand firmly in this truth. You are no longer the person who hesitates at every opportunity. You are the one who steps forward with purpose. You are the one who moves with clarity. You are the one who trusts deeply. Now is your time. Step forward with confidence because you are backed by God.